Sanje Chedam Zojin Shono La Shanje Bado Dano Josum Che Dake Shenso Jibe Sonum Dola Penche Sanjen Rever Jo Sanje Chedam Zojin Shono La Shanje Bado Dano Josum Dake Chishe Jibe Sonum Je Dola Penche Sanjen Rever Jo Sanje Chedam Zojin Shono La Shanje Bado Dano Josum Dake Chishe Jebe Sonum Je Dola Penche Sanjen Rever Jo. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. There are also some new faces. Hello. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Yes, we are physically very far away, but mentally we are very close each other. The technology thank you for the technology and science to make physically we're not able to close each other, mentally, and we can see close each other, we connect each other. We keep our connection. It is wonderful, all of the world, we just right now, the world become very small, just very tiny. But technology and science makes it very small. Therefore, it's wonderful to see all of you like that. Then, as Buddhism is not easy, not easy to understand, also not easy to see the results. We study years, but we are just same person is happen. Therefore, it's important to not to looking for short result. If you really want to see the result, you need to effort. Therefore, we not effort, then we not see the result. If like you go to top school like college, you need to very good the numbers, very study hard. Therefore, you get to the result. Otherwise, even you wish, but you not study enough, then you never get the chance like that. This is like same that anything we're looking for the good result, we need to good effort. It's like same as Buddhism also like that. Okay, now I'm not talking too much. We're going to a little bit explain for the how become Heart Sutra. What's Heart Sutra? What's important? We're going to talk a little bit about that. Usually, the Heart Sutra is the essence of Buddha's teaching, because the Heart Sutra is a heart. Heart is the most important to human beings, right? Therefore, the Heart Sutra. It is also, I think, maybe two different versions, like that. Usually, who most follow or the important to Heart Sutra is only the Mahayana tradition, who follow the Mahayana tradition, like India, Tibetan, then Nepal, China, Vietnam, and Taiwan, and like Korea, like those who follow the Mahayana tradition, that really takes serious to the Heart Sutra. I think who really deep study, I think that Tibetan Buddhism is one of the who follow or practice and who study that. I don't know, practice or not, but study. Then also the Tibetan tradition was also the longest one. Usually the Chinese and Japanese, those ones are much shorter than Tibetan. Even there's the translator for Tibetan language, also the short one, long one, but we don't really see the short one. But short, long was usually we have also the history, how the text come in, we call Lingzhe. Then the Chinese, those doesn't have that. They just, form is empty. They start here, that form is empty, emptiness of form. Like they start from that. They're above that all extra. That's for Tibetan traditional way. They are also much shorter. Then also some missing their words. Also, His Holiness, always sometimes they will need to check if other translators have that verses or not. Something like that. Then basically, I think the Heart Sutra is the translator for Chinese language before the Tibetan. And the Tibetans are after, after, yeah. Okay, I think my English is finished that. Okay. Give you some water, tea. Yeah. 잘. 잠시 주소. Okay. 아니, 다다다 시원하지. 샤라니 몰라 제디니요서라. 대장한서 배제 나한테 다 제바들에. 아니, 다 깨릭 셴바수 나라단다. 링제당도 마부지 요서 말해.
So, like I said, the Heart Sutra in Tibetan version, there are two different versions. The one long one, one short one. I don't know about the long one, but the short one. The long one is the one that we recite. And all different traditions of Buddhism have the Heart Sutra, but some have a different way of starting it. Some they start with right away with the emptiness, talking about the form is empty, emptiness, form, and so forth. But in Tibetan one, we start with the introduction and the beginning.
제장가 아니 디나네 달 샤라니보라 로종 아니 쟁에데 아니 다 배워주고 인사를 파시. 아니 군대고 송도와 아니 자급 셴바 다 남베기 자급 아니 지 대화 친구고 룩스가 되냐면 지금 뭐 샤라니보 빼 다야 보지 껴르지. 다나지 재미라고 봐다. 쇼카나 세이게 티트니 쳐다나 다 로종도 같이 제가 말했을 때 뭐 배워대 무슨 인사를.
So I think it's only Tibetan Buddhism that studies the Heart Sutra really, because other traditions, they do have Heart Sutra and they have a really beautiful chanting tunes, but they don't really, they just want to do the chanting. And then some have like very beautiful calligraphy, written in a very nice and beautiful form, but they don't really do the study. So it is, I think, only Tibetan Buddhism who studies about the Heart Sutra.
대체 제가 아니 통화도 배외가 깨래 절여서 나가도 되나 다 나가서 절주고 빼자대 미세 남주는 통화도 개요 말해 돈 많이 없네 고만 없어.
So I heard that there is a shorter version of the Heart Sutra that is translated into Tibetan, but I myself have never seen it.
제가 아니 다 배외 깨래 투 산칸에 투 정에 대해 아니 로자와린 제대세티 공부제에서 바지 다 추자 안에 투송대전 갑다 와지 바지다 다 디럽 숨바시고 가리나 다른 게 뜻이네.
And I think a translator who translated the Heart Sutra from Sanskrit into Tibetan is Rasa?
네, 로자와 린첸데.
Lotsawa, or translator Rinchende, I think during the time of the king Songtse Gampo.
Songtse Gampo and Songtse Gampo Jumadena 다 도와지래.
So Songtse Gampo or the later king, then Songtse Gampo, I don't know, something around that time.
어디내려지 다들 용단들 내려오지. 아니 대네 다 다르네 가지 아니 샤람님보테 아니 간소페나 대사 칼레바나 아니 샵텐소데 샤람님보테 로마니도 그래.
And so from there, the recitation, and the study of the Heart Sutra became popular. And in the great monasteries like Sera Jey Monastic, they always recite Heart Sutra and Tara praises to 21 Tara as a main ritual practice.
아니 다 샤람님은 잠잠 찍는데만 샤람님은 살찌인도 알아 추정 같은 거 그랬어. 이런 것도 그래.
And in like Sera Monastery, they have this tune for the Heart Sutra, where you recite so slowly with the full contemplation, that it takes about 5 hours to just read through once. So like when we recite in a straight, in a normal speech, it takes about a couple of minutes only. But when they take that long, it is usually done with the full meditation. So what you are meditating, is on emptiness. And so the Heart Sutra, the subject matter of the Heart Sutra is emptiness. So the wisdom, the heart of the wisdom, so it's the heart of the wisdom or essence of the wisdom. That's what it means, the Heart Sutra. So we usually say, I don't know why it's called Heart Sutra, but it's the essence of wisdom. So when we talk about the wisdom developed, through hearing, through contemplation, and through meditation. So that kind of wisdom.
아니 딘데기 셔럽데 가르서나 예전에 됐음지 아니 제자 동반이지 된 또비 셔럽 아니 된 예전에 됐음지 아니 제자 님보 아니 동반이 데레스데다 대 또비 셔럽인자 셔럽 님보스.
And it's called the essence of the wisdom because it's the wisdom that realizes the emptiness. And so the emptiness, the wisdom that realizes the emptiness which is the subject matter of this text and Heart Sutra, and so therefore it's called the wisdom, rising from the contemplation, hearing, contemplation, and meditation.
아니 셔럽님부 특유님이시고 말다네 셔럽님부 제자대 예전에 됐음 그 제자 찾아 님보대 노도지 시작이만다 님보스로 봐.
And so the Heart Sutra itself, is very short, but the subject matter, is the emptiness, which is the same subject matter, as the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. So there's a extensive version of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra with the 100,000 verses, and the middling version of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, which has 25,000 verses, and so it's all the same subject matter, but it is concise, so into that short form, and therefore this particular text, the short one, is called the essence or the Heart Sutra.
다 안에 셔럽님보다 가디 손발에서 와나 안에 저당 산지 좀 된데 안에 사 제비 달로 주마 샤보시 셰기 줄이야 아니 워나텔라야 아니 담보 대지 친구 손발 말이스.
And so when he taught, when at what time, when did he teach this Heart Sutra? And so it was so first, after Buddha gained enlightenment, after 49 days, after he gained enlightenment, then he first, taught the teaching on the Four Noble Truths. That's called the first turning of the wheel of Dharma.
아니 간소 배나 다 대화 전부를 눌러야나 선지 좀 된다가 아니 중고 말하고 숨고 막 해는 거래. 내때 대비를 눌러 아니 지마지 해는 거 말이지.
So in the Mahayana tradition, it is asserted that Buddha turned the three wheel of Dharma. But in the Theravadan tradition, they accept only one turning of the wheel of Dharma.
대야시다 추송송바다 송바대 아니 다 중고 담보 되겠다. 고대 제세세로 내 마도 만다왔으면 송한테 개념이 버려.
And so they do accept that Buddha taught all these different teachings, but they accept that it was taught in a different length, but don't accept that there was like three different turning of the wheel of Dharma.
다음도 태화 전부 룩 셔와이나 아니 대자 만다와 mambo이 와다 대자 왕보다 때문에 산지 좀 되게 중고 만다와 숨고 말이스 어떻게 송교레스.
And so according to the Mahayana tradition, because there are different level of the faculties of the disciples, and so therefore Buddha taught three different level of teachings according to the different level of faculties of the disciples.
어제다 당보대 아니 또 아니 지금 내지마다 주주가 좀배 아니 간지 아니 콜로 당보대 고사대 다 대화치죠 참아 토모와래 된 콜로 당보라 그래서
And so the first one is called the turning of the wheel of Dharma on the Four Noble Truths and the 16, the attributes of the Four Noble Truths like impermanence and so forth.
아니 대줄라 다 산지 좀 된다 산지네 바지 루쭈 정화지 질라야 아니 다가기 단다 더제된 그 타녀서 아니 데부캅 디기 타녀데 자그 품부르세 디라야 아니 다 셰싱도 망보지서만 콜로 바와 간지 아니 또 대자 오마바지 좀 시다니 대소 많이 말해서
And then after like 10, 15 years after Buddha gained enlightenment, and then he taught this Heart Sutra for the disciples and disciples who are more inclined towards the Mahayana teaching, Mahayana Sutra, and so he taught this Heart Sutra in a place called Rajgira.
제가 다 디가 그 소사가 대자텔라 아니 따치탄 담람뭐 다대 중요하냐 또 디 대자테 대자 오마 바세데 처음 말.
So there are many different kind of disciples who attended the teachings or who listened to the teaching, but it was mainly focused for the disciples of the middle way.
안 다단 콜로 당보 소사데 저 시라모든 도대반이 말해서.
And the first turning of the wheel of Dharma was mainly intended, for the followers, or the proponents, of the Vaivashika, Sautantika and Vaivashika schools.
어떻지? 다 되니 사실 좀 전에 공부 맞춰서 내다 와질라 아니 양바찬데야 아니 콜로 타마 아니 또 아니 셈소마 아니 지소버지다 아니 콜로 타마 아니 도대 공대에서 했다 소마이 바래.
And then, so towards the end of his life, just before he passed into parinirvana, Buddha turned the third turning of the wheel of Dharma in a place called Vaishali. And so there he taught the teaching is called the intending, the clear explanation of Buddha's intention. And so why he said things exist truly and why he said things do not exist truly. So like, a clear explanation about Buddha's intention, and so that was mainly focused for the disciples who propounds the schools of the mind-only school.
어디지? 다 손다. 다 대에 조 만다와 숨소말. 시다다 주마부 숨말다. 조 만다와 숨 대소 많이 말해서 남이 대. 숨 캐내 그래.
So of course, every speech of the Buddha is a teaching, right? So every time he talked, it's a teaching. So therefore, he taught so many times, so many teachings. But there is considered as three turning of the wheel of Dharma for like three main particular teachings for particular disciples. And so then there is so many ways Buddha teaches his teachings.
아니 셴네 소백가 아니 지스노백가 신jel라백가세 말하고 숨요레스 송달라.
And so there's like the teaching directly given through his own speech, and then teaching given with his permission, and then teaching given with his blessings. Like that.
어디지? 제가 단다 혈압 니보테 아니 신jel라백가양레 지스노백가양레 아니 셴네소백가야 차대요레스.
And so this Heart Sutra, is all these three different different way of teaching the Dharma. So it is also like the blessed teaching, and it's also permitted teaching, and it's also directly spoken teaching also.
다 아니 다 셴네 송화대 다 선지 좀 셰라네 다는 땅도 카트와지 마송고 된데가 아니 빼자 너 돈돌 아니 셴네 송가 아들 그러와.
So the directly spoken, it's like just like Buddha himself speaking, to the audience and teaching the Dharma.
아니 지스노백가세데 다 먹어봐나 눈도 제쇼 왔는데 제쇼 와서 마다 나와테시 되레스.
And then the permitted teaching, is like giving a permission. So okay, so now in the future you can do this, you can do that, you can do that, like that, giving a permission, to teach in such and such way by such and such disciples. And then teaching through blessing, there are three different ways again. So blessed through body, blessed through speech, and blessed through mind also. And then this Heart Sutra is one of the teachings given through blessing, and it is said that through the blessings from his holy mind. And so that is to say that his mind was in the state of full concentration, and through that mind, right, and he blessed Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara to give this teaching. And then through the blessings of the speech is like very much like giving a talk, like giving advice, and then that way others receive teachings in certain ways. And so then there's another way is like blessings with the truth of the mind, with the truth of the mind. It's like saying that, okay, so if it is true like this, then may this be like that. And then when that happens, through that truth, by saying or by thinking in that way, if that is truth, then may this happen. So that when this happens, then the blessings through the truth of the mind. And so it's like says, if it's true that all things are empty of existing in the way they appear to us, then may the sound of the drum, say emptiness instead of boom, boom, boom. May it say emptiness, emptiness. And then the through the power of that truth, then when when the drum is played, then instead of making the drum sound, it says emptiness. And so and then blessed through the wisdom of the mind is like the yakshas, the like a demon or like a spirit, called yakshas. And so even though they are not Buddhist or don't believe in the Dharma and instead usually cause harm to other beings, but through the blessings of the wisdom of the mind, then the yakshas will speak the Dharma to others. And so there are many different ways the Buddha teach Dharma through like in that way, through permission, speech, and blessing and speech. And so this Heart Sutra is taught in all these three different ways. And so the introduction part at the beginning, is like the permission.
자태 어디
Permitted teaching.
제 나와지 아니 되네마 셰리다 아니 샤리프니 아니 신질랍지 저들레 저와다 아니 그러고 신질랍에 가자고 그래서
And then, and after that, then through the blessings of the Buddha, then Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra engages in question answer. So that's the blessed teachings.
아니 매기 슈구슈구라 렉소 르지바 테테지나다 다테 아니 산제 좀 된다가 다 자라니 저와들레 지나 강소 다랑레세네 소데 다 신의 소매 가자고 그래서
So at the end, then he says he wakes up from the concentration, and then he says, well said, right? So just like you said, the bodhisattvas practice that. So when that is said, then that is like the direct speech teaching.
어디 다된 다초된도 다 하고서 뭐
So you understand that part, right?
어지 다 셔럽 님보세대 빼면서 내가 첨보 이미 제세 가르쳐서나 안 네가 그 셔럽 세대 돈이도 셔럽 고고 그래서
And so here we're talking about the wisdom, right? So the essence of the wisdom. So the wisdom here is referring to the wisdom realizing emptiness.
어지 제장가 돈이도 셔럽 때 빼면서 내가 첨보 말했어요.
So the wisdom realizing emptiness is very, very important realization.
제장가 너 띵에다 잡으나라야 아니 돈이도 셔럽 안에 그러고 돈이도 셔럽 공부했나 아니 텔라트는 영을 내가 토크레스 아니 제제 가야고 말레스 아니 돈이도 셔럽 되면은 영을 공부 도고 말레스 다때 도고는 사실 좀 되라고 코는 거레스.
So in the King of Concentration Sutra, it is said that if you have the wisdom realizing emptiness, then through that you can achieve nirvana or liberation. You don't need anything else. If you just have that wisdom realizing emptiness, then with that you can achieve the nirvana. But if you don't have that, then no matter what else you have, you will not be able to achieve nirvana.
다 나지금 공부를 듣고 약속으로 강에 돈이 미시바 텔라타베 때마이 가지 돈만이 미싱에 달라 타와토요 말레스. 아니 로드 스베던 대대 로드 스베 쏘라라 아니 몸베 아니 코와라 참베 그래서 돈이 미시고 코와 잡고 그래서 어떤데 그래서.
And also Nagarjuna said in one of his texts that those who don't know emptiness will not achieve nirvana, and thereby and because of that, and will be caught in the prison of samsara all the time.
다 나아진 게 아니 쇼주나라 노세요 봤어. 아니 예랑도 탐전은 특别시럽 된다서 무슨 쇼주 레가 가로 대처와라 지금 들어왔어. 대행해라 쇼주 레가 당분이 벌써 뭐서 가르잖아. 돈이도 시럽고 쳇다는 송샤와래 해서 도세요 봤어.
무버딩으로.
뭐 파지로 그러고.
뭐 시럽으로.
거대.
And then also in the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Shantideva said, Buddha taught all these branches, for the wisdom. So I think maybe it's in the 9th chapter of the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, which is the chapter on wisdom. And when it's talking about that, it says that all the other things, are all the other branches are taught for the wisdom, for realizing wisdom, emptiness.
아니 다 나중에 지름 보시가 템비 니보 똥바니에서 템비가 산제 템비가 루토 템비 니보마데 똥바니에서 아니 단단가서 템비도 그나요 was.
And also Lama Zopa said in the praise in praise of dependent origination, he said that the essence of the teaching is emptiness. So the essence of all the teachings of the Buddha, is emptiness.
다 나중에 미 신발 파토바 변나 템비 나네 템데 또바다 템데 동서군에 때바나 때바 야수들이로 와.
And then if you also praise others, then if you praise through the emptiness, and like with the dependent origination emptiness, then that's the best of the praise.
다 나는데 혈압 야수데 혈압 나네 템데 시바니스 혈압 나게 혈압 야수데 텐데 시비가 샤랍다가 대추보래서로.
And then also the best of the wisdom, is the wisdom knowing emptiness, or wisdom the knowing interdependence.
어디 다 두치네 가들 어디시 아니 다들 봐 농지 잔다다 로마 오시고다 다이로 대가가 잠보고 오시라 봐.
There's so many scriptural quotes like this, so we don't have to go through all of them.
제자가 아니 지금 아니 메소놈 셔라 명예 된데나 아니 똥반이가 꼴라야 태솜자야 사도고 말이스. 그래서 태솜이 사와이나 디그 아니 수방 코와 똥바 소저 그래서 어디니 바발랑 두 송어야 봐.
So if you don't have enough merit, you will not be able to even have a doubt towards emptiness. So it says, like, even if you have a doubt towards emptiness, that will help to empty your samsara.
아니 까와 똥자 망볼라 편에 짐바 똥처럼서 저와 공발래자 아니 똥이 그 꼴라야 태솜섬이 사와이나 아니 손음 디마가 사 그래서 두 송어야 봐.
And it says that even if you have practiced generosity, morality, or patience for many years, but if you just meditated, or if you just had a thought about or doubt about emptiness, even for a couple of minutes, then that is more meritorious.
어제 다 두치는 다 망보여 다 디차상 쉬먹어 가지 대지당 가서 강가 륜르는 거로 잘로다 강들 더지는 다 가서 시다 나벨로서 되니만 랍다야 돼. 그 다들 아니면 그 아니 자주원들들이 여다 세트 두스레시.
So anyway, so there's, like I said, there are so many scriptural quotes like this, but we don't have to go through all of them. Just mentioned a couple of them, to explain that there are such kind of scriptural supports like that, to prove how important the emptiness is.
어지 다들도 가다 콜로지선으로 되지. 근데 용을 근데 다 아니 셔럽님보 대다 가지고도. 다 강들 아니 셔럽님보 제자 도도대다 또 많이 또 셔럽대. 돈이 또 셔럽대. 시대가 와시기로 와.
So the subject matter of the, again, like I said, subject matter of the Heart Sutra is emptiness.
다 아니 도저 단단 가서 주소 빼셔 디나라 문도 아니 남주 자그르카도 아야 방가바데 단자 빠르마다 산다야. 아니 백거든 봐봐 좀 된데 마셔지 받으신 비 본보 다음 본부 찍고 오세 오늘 두송 그래서 두 요래 있는데 내 마제도 너가 말했지 나 여열해서
Yeah, so in the Tibetan, in the English text of the Heart Sutra that we recited, the center doesn't have that, the initial part of the Heart Sutra, which is said in the Sanskrit and then translated into Tibetan.
제가 아니 방가와데에서나다 좀 된데 해라야 돼 말이야.
So the first one starts with Bhagavate, and Bhagavate is referring to the Buddha.
아니 단자세대 셔럽이 바로.
And Tanja is wisdom.
아니 빠르마다세 바로드신 바스.
Paramita is the perfection.
아니 선다야세대 니보시.
Hindaya is the essence.
아니 좀된 데마 셔라지 바르드시미 니보세다 도도로 파는데 두미 말이야.
And so this is the essence of the Kosa. Essence of the profession of wisdom of Buddha.
되게 나도 대단한 독자에서. 뭐야? 좀 된데 막 혈지 바르시면 다들 좀 사가 대서다 마보시고 대서 차서 쉬고 가지 않아야 돼. 아니 좀 세대 아니 간지 아니 도저 말이 봐좀 봐나 좀 대세대 아니 지 연대 차서 대바이자 좀 대세대 간지 아니 냥을낸 대와 아니 고발에 줘봐 드리면서 좀된 내에서 드리려고 있더라고.
So in Tibetan we have here's Chomden De Bhagavan. Chom means a destroyer, a fall destroyer, a destroyer who have destroyed the fall or the obscurations, the deluded obstructions, and the obscuration to knowledge. Then means to possess, to possess all the knowledges. And they means to have gone beyond, and have gone beyond samsara, and a cycle going beyond the samsara and the peace like that.
아니 가들 다티 도도로잖아. 아니 산지 좀 된 데라야. 아기 아니 뇽모바 차상 빠산 바리 강 연대 차상다 댕거리 에사이로 그러고.
And so anyway, so it's saying the Bhagavan, the Buddha, who have destroyed all the obstructions and who possess all the knowledges and who is gone beyond the peace and nirvana. I mean the samsara and nirvana peace.
아니 마세데다 가지 아니 샤랍지 파르드 셴바 아니 데니기 샤랍지 파르드 셴바 다 돈이도야 대 아니 다 사제도 시셔서 막 탐지지 다 마다버들에서 가지 안주고 말때니 아니 부게고라 아니 대 나시게 사제도 샤셔서 막 탐지 돈이도 샤라도 곰네 사제고다 아니 마스로.
So it says that the ma chumden de ma, so ma is referring to the mother. Ma is referring to mother. So mother is the one who gives birth to the child. So just like that, it's just the profession of wisdom, is called mother, and through that, then comes the Buddha. The Buddha is given birth by the profession of wisdom, and in nirvana and both the state of full enlightenment, is given birth by profession of wisdom Suda. So therefore, the profession of wisdom is called mother.
오지 제장아 아니 덴디게 아니 돈유도베 혈압 아니 제자신이 빼자다양 점점 혈신생도 미더거려 왔어.
And so that kind of the text in any text that has the subject matter of the emptiness is called the perfection of wisdom sutra or teaching.
만도 단다 가로 덴디지 가로 봐 아니 윤셰제 람셰제 레오셰제도 요와.
So there's like the perfection text, scripture, and then perfection path, and then perfection result, like that. That's I think that's explained in the ornament of clear realization.
Oh, the 윤셰제 사대 아니 돈유도베 혈압 제자신이잖아 윤셰제 람셰제 사대 돈유도베 혈압 아니 델라 아니 람셰제 레오셰 돈유도베 혈압 곰발라 때네 산제 곰바토비 산제지 투지 돈유도 혈압 레오셰제스로.
So the scripture in perfection is the scripture that explains about the emptiness, and the path perfection is the path like the realization of the emptiness that leads to the enlightenment, and then the result perfection is the cessation within the continuum of the Buddha that you achieve after having completed the practice of the perfection of wisdom.
Oh, this. 다는 저 인지나라면도 아니 뒤지라 본보 지생도 본보세 지 단데 저다 벽을 넣어서 뒤지면 야 슝고 산지 슝데 슝고는 여사 말했어. 본보세 지요레스.
And then in the
담보대가 좀 맞아요. 다 자가게 매그 진세대야 다 깨라 파차샤와 jel라 챌린지와 대지 쿠즈 받고 받으면 보여 와서 저도 본보 장사에 봤어. 맞아.
And then, so in the beginning, that we always, I mean, not necessarily that everybody chants that way, but there is the title of the text in Sanskrit. So the purpose of doing that, is when you recite that part, just that part of the title of the text, in Sanskrit, then that helps, to bless your mind. And to leave the imprint of the language in your continuum, and then what's that? And to bless your mind.
가르치는 아니 산제 똥업산이 아니 담블레 팸네 추 송아데 담보소 추 송아데 아니 다 산케게 송 거서로 와.
And so it says is to leave imprint of that language in your mind, and to bless your mind, and to also to show that that text is authentic, because it has that title from the Sanskrit language, and so that's to show that the text is immaculate source. It has the immaculate source, and also the reason why we and why it is important to leave the imprints of that language in our mind is because it is said that all the Buddhas, all the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon, and who's going to come in this world and turn the wheel of Dharma, will all teach the Dharma in the Sanskrit language.
And
so among, so there were many different languages, during that time, but it is the Sanskrit language, that is used to give the teachings of the Dharma, and therefore it's called the Sanskrit, the divine language, like that.
Sholoka Samjala Pomoshi Langeda, and the Sholoka Nishitanga Pomoshi Langetaniore. Cheda Sharam Nimotavadan and the Sholoka Nishitanga Yudalakuyores. Cheda Pomochix Lavateris.
And then there is it talks about pombo, which means like a volume, so how many pages or how many stanzas you consider as one volume, right? And so there are many different way of counting that, volume. So what do you call it? So one, volume two, like that, like that. In Tibetan we call it pompo. And so there's so some they, the different way of counting. So they say like some text, which has 25 stanzas, it's called one pompo, one volume. And so because Heart Sutra it's said that it has like 25 stanzas.
제가 안에 숄로가 남지 배차 튜드라고 해봤나가도 숄로가 티도 숄로가 티카시라 숄로가 치드랬다 샤라님보다만 그 티름보한테 숄로가 간이티가 하고 매 얘네 숄로가 니지당아 티기도 없어.
And so there's so usually when we say stanza, there's like lines, right? So the 4 lines is called one stanza, and then and so we have to have like that, so 25 or 4 lines. To call it 25 stanzas, but in Heart Sutra there's no like no specific syllables, like a specific number of syllables in each line. So the other texts, they have the specific number of syllables in each line. So like the 7 syllables or 9 syllables like that in each line, and then 4 line of that makes one stanza. But the Heart Sutra doesn't have like that. It's like all one straight, like a long line. So I don't know how it is separated as stanza, but it is said that there are 25 stanzas.
제가 다 안에 본보직 숄로가 니지당아 요티기 그랬다. 지단들이 되기도 가들.
And so anyway, so one volume, so like 25 stanzas is considered as one volume.
다 뒤에 오들라 상제다 전조다 마탐절라 상사여서 대 안에 로자와도 코로나스다 레카데 판 탈신야가 지금 소놈부터 사가 지금 상사가 말이스.
상계 전설에 가래 바바군수는 찾아.
바바군수는 찾아라. 그래. 상조 세만나라 찾아라. 니나는 상제다 시제도 마찬가지다. 아니 다 가.
그래 되어나.
말라 샤르나 코로나.
바바군수는 말해.
어디 다 집어로 내나나 상지다 지어도 받으려 저런데 그러는도 다 파바 꼴저라 샤도 안
그래 되어나.
아마 자와 코로나. 그때 남자 여자 가디 인도스 누구들. 얘들다 아니 제토만에 틀리는 게 자와도 다돼요. 디나나나 상지다 지어도 받으려 찬다로 납샤. 남중아도 되다나나 파바 꼴저라 차더라고 그래. 다 고집어려다 가는데 로자와서 티셔요래.
So in the short Professional Wisdom Sutra, which has the 8,000 verses, so that it starts with the homage to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. But like here in the text, when you read, right, homage to the homage to the exalted 3 jewels. That's homage, paying homage. So this homage is paid by the translators usually. The translators or composers. So when they compose the text or when they translate the text, they usually insert that part of paying homage in order to be successful in their composition or in their translations.
다 대줄라다 늦게다고 두바 대치나 되어랬어.
And then after that it says, "Thus have I heard at one time." Right?
단내 아니 랑미데서 늦게다고 두바 대치나 랑미데 끈가오래. 끈가오.
And so it is said that it said like, thus have I heard at one time. I heard at one time. Who's I? And so here in the commentary it says it's Ananda.
제가 나도 안에 산지 좀 된데 안에 그냥을 했는데 지라야 안에 다좀바도 다좀바 호송이 하나 개시네 다좀만 앞자 들루체네 안에 콘도 다 산지 그 가르가르 송아리 수수 고소세 안에 콘도 까던데 많이 말해서 까도.
And then so it is said that when Buddha passed away, the Buddha passed away, then they had to like put together all the teachings of the Buddha, given by Buddha, and then but they have to come up with all these teachings that Buddha gave, and so led by the Arhat Kashyapa, they gather all these like 500 Arhats together, like in the concert and to explain what Buddha taught.
제가 다 뒤갑라야 산지 좀 끈가오다 연나 맨날 내버도 고요래나 끈가오다가 다좀 차요 말해.
So at that time, so the disciple, who has been most closest with the Buddha, who will remember everything the Buddha said, they need somebody like that. And Ananda was the one who has been so close with Buddha all the time, attending him all the time. So so they needed him, but he was not Arhat at that time.
아니 드네다 산지 의수 전부야 아니 삼로다네야 다 콜라 니바다네 니바 마다바 jet다네 아니 코 뭐 나보치네 아니 고만에 피샤와 말레스
디콘을 그래.
까도 맞지응해라.
So and before that actually he was expelled. Ananda was expelled from the monastery, from like the community, the Sangha community, for he was accused of 8 mistakes that he made.
가르에서나 아니 다 산지 좀 되는 다 샵시 연면에 거다 거로 연면에 거로 봐 제다 콜라 저랑 게 제다 만들어서 산지 고모도 걸고 코 니바 제다 많이 버리.
And so it's just like because of his mistakes, so he said you made these mistakes in 8 different ways. Then because of that, Buddha passed away. Yeah, so anyway, so because Ananda was the closest to Buddha, as he was Buddha's attendant.
제다다 코 다좀바 거래 다좀면에 까도 쟁이 뒤 토바놓고 투게마 다코 다좀바 토야 제다 아니 니바 제다 아니 코피 되네 코 아니 다 가로 다좀바 토야 제다 고모부 자고 해도 티체다 아니 산지 레송고 다 답시다 와 봐라.
And so it's just like so he was given he was expelled from the community, Sangha community, by accusing having made these 8 different mistakes, and so then he was given like a punishment to make up for his mistakes. And so anyway, so this was like a very skillful means or method of the Arhat Kashyapa for him to purify all his mistakes and negativities and to become Arhat. So he can become Arhat.
빼자잖아. 누가 돼. 저랑 그 산지 좀 된들 샬라피베 칼라야 누구치는 홍세 남라 피나 누구치 따샤와이나 아니 추따다 사용을 되네. 추때 맞이와지 무게 춘 아니 추상만 매주 산지 좀 된다 아니 피네 아니 되게 산지 공부도 월때 니바치 당하면 버리.
And so there are many like mistakes. They said that he made mistakes of this of certain things, and because of that, Buddha passed away. Like he said when he scooped the water, with his begging bowl, to offer to Buddha, and he should have done from the surface, because he went deep down, and then that brought all the murky water, and he offered that, and therefore Buddha passed away.
다다 그저 가오로 비게 진도 가오르데 구셔나가로 도와줘서 산지 좀 되는 그 타마도 되는 시에서도 사자지 고든도 바지 대사래.
So I think it's somewhere in Kushinagar in India. There was like a place like a river, where they said that this is a place where Buddha had the last drink of water.
아니 야 저랑 산지 샬라피가 아니 홍세 남라 피나 아니 다 띵이 샬라피가 최대 맞이와지 아니 미마산에 아니 샬라 담마메 되는데 아니 피치네 아니 대기 산지 좀 공부도 버렸어. 아고 드네니 바탕 버리.
And then also other punishment he was given, for making a mistake when he offered food, to the Buddha. So he says, if you have offered food with the begging bowls up, Buddha would have taken the food of concentration. But instead, then you went down, to the public and then, brought those unclean food, from the people, and then because you offer that, and therefore Buddha passed away.
아니 야 신바치라야 아니 저랑게 돈베게 남자 잼베 가려야 저랑 비모 돈베 남자 쇼지데 비모 올라 좀 아니 저 잼서 대 아니 남자 또 바차르면 그 때문에 누치님 누타가 잼 누치 섬고 라바 섬고 그러와 저랑 누치 파 파타잖아 아니 야 단다 띵인데 베나 라들 한번들 섬고 저 때마저 저랑 비모 올라 냄새야 돼야 아니 담마메 차와래 고니 바타와 버리.
And then also he was given a punishment, for making a mistake, when he saw Buddha's robe. So in ancient time, of course, we might not have any idea how you sew the clothes, right? We always buy ready-made clothes. And so when you sew the cloth, usually what you do is, you have to sew with a needle. So one end of the cloth, has to be held by something. So what you usually do is you put it under your knee, between your foot and the knee, and with the knee and the foot, you hold the other end, and then one end with this hand, and then you use a needle and a thread with the other hand to sew it like that. And so, because it's a Buddha's robe, you can't be disrespectful by putting it under your knee and holding it with your foot. So it's not respectful. And instead, if you have just stretched in the space, then through the power of the concentration, the gods and goddesses would have held it, and you can just sew it like that. So you should, so out of respect to Buddha's robe, you should have done that way. But instead of doing that, you held it with your knee and foot, and then you sew with the other hand. And therefore, that was a mistake, and because of that mistake, he was given a punishment.
아, 근데 공가고 빼면도 간게 좋다. 산지 샤주는 거다 딱고 산지에 다 샤주에는 미 관계가 콜라 기저비어에 딱 코랑 가르쳐지로 그러와. 다 산지 냥을낸 대와 동하고 직 고면나 뼈가 냥이 니 단에 코 비자와 버렸어.
So Ananda, had a very difficult time. When he was with Buddha, he was like closest to Buddha, and they all respected him. Yeah, they all respected him because he was very close to Buddha, and he knew everything about Buddha and a lot of his teachings and everything. So they respected him so much. But when Buddha passed away, of course he was mourning, for mourning over Buddha's passing away, one thing, and then on top of that, he was also expelled, from the Sangha community. So he was really having a hard time.
아니 되네나 코빼 선바 팜치 되네나 코 곰잡네 곰 추선이 없이 다 뒤에니마 따라 가지 니마 가시 곰전에 코 다좀 도서 해 버려.
And so because of that, he really worked very hard to do meditation. And he said that, I don't know exactly, about a couple of days, like for 24 hours, he meditated. And then right away, he achieved an arhatship.
아니 코 다좀 도서 하는데 되네 아니 산지에 그래서 코를 예바타에도 또 다좀 도와지 되래 이제.
And so then soon after he became arhat, then the arhat Kashyapa brought him in the council to discuss about Buddha's teaching. And that was the skillful mean of the arhat Kashyapa to give him the punishment so that he can become arhat soon.
아니 되네 다 고태용도 아니 다좀 압자가 죽은 압자도 마살아 뒤지 대가나 공가와 대치네 다 지나가야 가르가르 고소도 다 가지 주의 전에 뒤버려다.
And so then all these the 500 arhats, they took off their upper robe, like the shawl, of the robe, the shawl, and they piled it up and made it into a throne, and then requested Ananda, to sit on that and to narrate everything that Buddha explained.
아니 단에 고소 저버리겠다. 지난 아니 가디 고소 가와 고소 가리 고소 아니 고소 아니 콜라마 랍전 딱고 무집에 띵이 되어 버려. 그 산지 좀 되게 가 소마데 차다 첼라면 그 맛이 더 버려.
And so then, of course, they asked him questions, and then he answered, and then he said, "Oh, okay, that's if I heard like that, then that's how it came from. I have heard at one time when Buddha was in Rajgir, he talked about this, and then many other things, So he could narrate everything Buddha said, and he said that he has gained the power of retention, and like he can remember everything Buddha said. There's the power of retention. Retaining all the teachings or messages the Buddha has passed, he can remember them all. And then he was telling them all, and then people were all writing down, and that's how the teaching, was passed down and still available up to us here.
어제 대단 늦게다가 두바 대치 나세. 다 내게 테마진들의 고송을 남게 다들 거 안에 kungawan 말이.
And so it's the Ananda, so who said that, right? So thus have I heard at one time.
제다 단 될라야 아니 디포도 쳐봐, 템바포도 쳐봐, 네포도 쳐봐, 코포도 쳐봐, 아니 추포도 쳐봐세 가서도 시행하는 거지 그래서.
And so there, like at this time, there's like the auspicious time, the perfect time, and then perfect place, perfect teacher, perfect disciple, like that. And so I think there are 4 or 5 of them.
어제 단데 리지세데 담마 용당도 쓰는 거야 돼.
So this is all about the introduction, how it came about.
안 내가 터모벨 리지라 그래. 터모벨. 단데 아니 간주 땡주 차선 걸들이 요다.
So this is the common introduction. This is common, in all the teachings. Like in the Buddha's translated teachings and in the translated commentaries also.
Okay. 다바지 든다고 자자야 아무로.
Dixon.
마보시는 것도 고비더라 메더라. 제가 다들 리지들이 제다다도 봐 제오 마보시야다. 마보시야나 고 고도들 다 간제 내 사람님 보대 강하나마 사람님 보대 다 제오에 베진세. 아니 사람님 보다 용다. 아니 사람님 보다 사제가 막 쏜다. 가가다 들이 도도온다고 쳐다. 타면 타주들라. 사람님 보고 가르치게도. 사제가 가르치는 송샤. 아니 가원의 송샤 다 내지 하고는 되게 그래서.
So I think that's about it for today. And so we just talked about, right, the introduction, of part, of the Heart Sutra, the importance, of the emptiness, and where it came about, and how he gave the teaching. Like we talked about different ways of giving teaching, right? Directed through his speech, through his permission, through his blessings and things like that. And then the importance of these teachings, and then we talked about the title, the subject matter, and how it came about, right? So who narrated or who said these teachings, like that. So now next, we're going to talk about what the teaching itself is.
아니 다 네가 그 노동을 하고 하자. 아니 혈압 작가래. 혈압 세대 고단이. 야만나 돈이 또 혈압. 야만 돈이 또 혈압 제야신 아니 다 대치 둘러 혈압 고그래서 네가 그 니까
So this wisdom here, the essence of the wisdom, the Heart Sutra, which is the essence of the wisdom. So the wisdom here is referring to the wisdom realizing or wisdom understanding emptiness.
Okay. 혈압 님보다 간리지라고 이거 대치치.
So you understand what is the essence of the wisdom? What wisdom is talking about?
근데 삼점들이 열어서 나한테 공한테 기자 보고 싶어서 근데 결국 계시도 출시해 버려 와 단대시 잡으러 와 담보도 너 내내 담보 윤이라고 해 아니 파지 잠으로도 좀 돈도 차타는 가고 같이 시야 마타네 아니 소소선 어떤 내리 좋은 소선이 제라고 뭐 되지 어떤 라이어 생각도 대차이니까 넣었어.
And so usually it starts with the short. And then you expand on that, right? So with the explanation of it, and then the explanation expands so much that you don't know what actually is talking about. It happens like that.
제가 안에 다 들으면 아주 타마적으로 노동으로 보지 다 노동 세대 다 가르쳐줘서 무슨 세신 세대 가르쳐야지. and this Sanjay Mason to Kandikan, Sonta Mada Kandi those. And the Sonsa Saja candidates. And the Sanjay Chu Mada Kase, To Mada Kasa Sonda, that they don't know chance of Sandana word.
And so from today's talk, so you have to get, you have to come to the conclusion, like the concluding part, so what main things did we talk about? Like, we talked about, how many teachings, training of the will of Dharma Buddha gave. We talked about the 3 trainings of the will of Dharma. Who did he aim it? The first train of the will of Dharma, who did he aim? The second train of the will of Dharma, who did he aim? For the third train of the will of Dharma, and what did he teach during those 3 training of the will of Dharma? And what is the wisdom, right? What is the wisdom we talked about? And then also how he taught. What is the way the Buddha teaches? All these things. So these are the main things that you have to remember. We talked about so many things in detail, but these are the main things that you have to remember.
Okay. Then any questions? Don't ask me so many histories. I'm not really good at history. Yes, Bob?
Geshe, you said of the 3 types of teaching, one is teaching by giving permission for someone else to teach. And is that in the Heart Sutra?
Just know.
Permission that Jesus no changa shama changa nere lap chogres. Ne khan level changa to lap chogre.
Yeah, permission. Yeah. What about that?
So in the Heart Sutra, I see the big piece is by inspiration and part is direct teaching, but is there a teaching by giving permission also in the Heart Sutra?
Kazo?
Yeah, just know ka yorevesa Sera Jey Monastic. Koran na Sera Jey Monastic da shana suma ka de yores ane jingla ka yores kosons. Ena dene ka Sera Jey Monastic kandide dene ga da just know ka.
제 단다 아니 늦게다가 두바 대시나 세테 아니 지스나 가래. 저랑 도체 사잔 내려라. 딘 내려질라. 빼자 내려지 투소 저랑 납초 그래. 대지스나 가래.
Yeah, so the first part, the thus have I heard at one time at such and such place, So that's the permission teaching. Like, okay, so you can say this, you can say this, that permission, that was the permission given, to be able to say that. Yes, you can say, at such and such time, at such and such place, this teaching was given. That's the permission.
Okay.
그다음 늦게다가 두바 전에 좀 전에 야보가 샤게부라 gelong 건데치면 탑지도 쇼대선데 오 대지스나 가라 그랬다.
And so all that part, thus that I heard at one time, Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir on Virtuous Mountain together with a great assembly of monks and great assembly of bodhisattvas. And like that, that part, permitted teaching, and that's also called the introductory.
다 대라 아니 다산인가도 단다 부서서 같이 와 아니 대마시야래 대부서서 대만 부서서 콜 부서서 받을 만한 거래서.
And so there, we'll talk about the perfect, the disciples perfect, teaching the perfect time and perfect place like that.
Okay.
Thank you, Geshe.
Any other questions? Yes, Jen, Margaret.
Geshe, thank you. Since I was just you was talking a lot about the beginning part, the Chomdende Ma, Sherake. So Ma is mother. Sherake, is it wisdom?
Wisdom, yeah.
Then what's Paro Do?
Perfection.
Sorry?
Perfection.
That's perfection. And then the Chimpe Ningpo?
Yeah, so the perfection is the Sharapye is that.
Okay, so the whole sentence means Ningpo is the essence. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, not going to very too fast. Try to slowly. Okay? We can understand, the slowly the meanings. Okay. Yes, Jennifer.
Angela, may we receive the oral transmission?
Maybe we can do it next week.
Next week. Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
You're not gonna do
나
that.
나도
You can do the not gonna do that.
아니 안 도셔. 아니 안 도셔. Okay, I can recite right now, okay?
If you don't have any questions, then since we still have some time, Geshe can recite that.
Thank you, Geshe.
Okay, so Geshe is going to give the oral transmission. Listen attentively.
Jaga the aya bangava the tanja par metta ya peke don poma pawba chumden de machra je par de shimbi nimbo pombo chiko sanje da sedan ba tamja la shanza lo de kada ka ba te chi na chumden de yabu kha shaga pomur la gelong ge ne chembo na chajo sembe ge ne chembo na tapchi de judi de de chumden de zamana shejabi chuji nam de tingin de la nyamra shuzo ya de de jo samba samba chimbo pawba chre za wachu Sera Jey Monastic shopa namratajo pumongo te Dalai raji tomba namba tago tene sanji jin ti tedan tamba Shariputra jejo samba samba chimbo popo cheneza wanshulan de keje meso rijibongo kanala Sera Jey Monastic shopa ndoba dicheta labra sha te keje mebana jejo samba chimbo popo cheneza wanshuko tedan tamba Shariputra de keje meso Shariputra rijibongo kanala Sera Jey Monastic shopa ndoba 네 나타나버 따라셔대 부모하고 대답장 라지지 동반 넘버 지서 따고 주 동반하고 동반이 주소지래 동반이 자마이노 동반이 내자 주시 마이노 대전도 초바던 디시다 넘버 10번 동반하고 샤레바테 다베나 동반이라 주면 초밤에 대답이나 동반이는 천년번 대답이나 추도 동반이대 천년번 마셔봐 먹어봐 저마매봐 저마다 저밤에봐 강화매봐고 샤레바 대답이나 동반이라 주면 초밤에 드시면 넘버 10번에 미면 나와면 남이 쯤에 레메 예메 좀에 담에 처음에 로메 레자메 추메도 미그 감이 위지 미그 감에 추메 미그 감에지 미그 넘버 10에 감지 받아야 매도 이제 넘버 10에 감지 받아야 매도 마리바 서밤에 받는 가시면 가시에서 받아야 매도 동아와도 군종와도 고바다 라미 이심에 도밤에 맞다봐야 매도 샤레바 대답은 전저 선반으로 도밤이 비실 실하지 버르다 신발라 땡지 내데 신저발라 신땡네 샘라 내데 샘나 대밤이지 신조를 신드네 냥갈랜데 다르신도 뒤에서도 남라집에 산지 탐지 실하지 버르다 신발라 때는 라나미가 야도 자전거 벌서 봐 상하지도 대답은 실하지 버르다 신명아 리바시명아 라나미명아 뭐냐 냐명아 동아도 줄다 저바시명아 먼저만 demla 시브라제데 샤라지 받으시면 아마 때야단 같은 것도 빠른 것도 빠른 쓰가된 모두 소와 진짜선 선바심 샤라지 받으시면 사무라 라브라샤고 되네 좀 된지 띵엔된래 띵엔된래 시대 진짜선 선바심 법바실에서 원쇼라 레소 시샤와시네 렉소 리제버 대대전의 저트라지제 따바 대전의 샤라지 받으시 사무라 쇼브라 샤데 대저샤바는 지세는 좀 된지 느껴져 같은데 대단한 말 샤리버 이제 선바선바좀 법바신에서 원추다 탐저다 되면 코로 대다다 하다마다 라마에나 도다치면 지대요는 지대 제다치면 지대 예란데 좀 된지 손발한 거 또도 좀 된데 막 실어져 받으시면 님보 시샤와 대화치면 도 조소 야게진 근보 비말람 미타다 로타와 gelong de rinchen jerchi yunjin lo tsawa gelong da namka la tsabe shede talam papa go ya bor bo chadran jemba na kundo sambo te ante jinje te da kunji je sa ta lo gewan da do tam chu ra do mo ya
저런 롱디 수산의 슈티 콩라스 kunzor kushana.
ale 내가 르데 기시 초월라산에 아니 타 인마 제도 별로 차상하셔버려 대중화래 아니 군두산에야 템박 마모셔요 아니 양가랑 따는 뭐 아니 단다 세르신 계속 간접발라 공산에야 쇼요.
So Geshe said he received this transmission and mainly from his teacher Geshe Tenley with the short version of the Professional Wisdom Sutra, 8,000 verses of the Professional Wisdom Sutra, and also many times from His Holiness Dalai Lama, and also from his root guru, the former an abbot of Sera Jey Monastery, Geshe Tenley. And so anyway, so these are the transmission, the Geshe, and now it's passed, and given to you.
Okay. And that's hanging on the Mashiati and the danger and the Revaju, Jaga and Reva. Even Jana Mitase, Konguntibe, and Reva do Teda. And it and the Chonagi, Jonathan, that's a kepa, take Shami, Teniganyam, Tenigashaj, and Mashia is.
And so now the commentary, of the Heart Sutra. So that's given by the Indian master, and also by the Tibetan the Tibetan master from Chonang. And so Taranada. So based on these two commentaries, then Geshe will give the explanation of the Heart Sutra.
Dog painted the thing, Shishaki the Pajano teacher. Thing a pressure down the Yadish, pop, then you the Palm Malwich, the Ladish.
So the Galagi?
Jaki, loving Janamita.
Janamita. There's the Indian master, Janamita. Yeah, so that's, I think, that I read it, Geshe, he read it from the Khensur. Khensur, translated commentaries, on Buddha's teaching. And so he took it out from there, but he never put it back. So it's the same, kept it outside. So this is, it was taken out for this time to explain.
No, I don't know which volume I can go. I'm lazy. This year, couple years. Okay. 제다당아도 제가 내가 제다당아도 치다 동반이가 고시거래. 제오지 나랑 셰식 말이야. 고도 내가다 셰식 말이야. 셰식나 전화도 고고 말이야. 내가 셰식 말이야. 당아도 고 되된다고 지러와. 아니 어서 만드시 잡들 지기로.
So it is all about emptiness that it talks here, and of course we can go just like it is in the commentary, and I don't know if you would be able to understand, and myself I don't know of very well to explain, and if I go according to the commentary, I don't know if you will be able to understand. So anyway, we'll try our best to go in the best way we can. To understand this professional wisdom sutra.
단계 라이바 아니 사실 좀 되더란 거 소난도 왔어. 아니 동반이가 권나 지금 태솜지 사와이나 아니 스팟 잠블리까지 코바 동바 차로 그래서 송도 왔어.
So just like I mentioned earlier from the teaching of the Buddha, it's like if you even have a doubt towards emptiness, and that will empty the cycle existence.
제가 도바마보다 진짜 산이 냐와 동바를 내시시.
So maybe we will empty the whole samsara because we have so many doubts about emptiness.
Okay. Like that. Okay, there's also some new faces here, and then it's very wonderful to see all of you also. Maybe you see me on the Facebook. I can see some people on Facebook. It's wonderful. And then also we just see the face to face. And Facebook, I just see your names. And I said the names also. I said wrong pronunciation. Now I can see your face. See here, it's wonderful. We have some connection to, discussion Dharma. I'm sure we create very good karma. We recite the Tharapuri like almost 10 months. Then now again, we also try to study a little bit Heart Sutra. It's very wonderful, very great. We can, even no one said, we say we are very great honor. Okay. Okay, now we can finish here.
Saji perki jukshin me tok tram re rab ling ji ni de gyen pa di sangye jing du mik te wagi roku nam dak jing la cher pa shu je tsun lame kutse rab ten ching nam pa trin le chok cher ge pa dang lo sang ten pedren me sasungi roe mun so tak tu neg yur chig idam guru rat namandalakam niryatayami. From my two collections, vast to space, that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind's wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by even this graded course to enlightenment completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. In that snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig remain in life till samsara's end. Savior of the Snowland teachings and transmigratory beings who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion, to the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as a bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Through this virtue may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha's state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious Supreme Bodhi mind, may it where unborn arise, and where born never decline, but increase forevermore. Mikmate Sewe Terchen Chen Rezik Dreamakin Pei Wang Po Jom Del Yang Kang Chen Ke Pei Tsu Gen Tong Ka Lo Sang Drak Pei Jabla Solwa De. Thank you, Geshe. Thank you, Damchala.
Geshe, thank you, Damchala.
You're muted again.
Oh, okay. Someone can
host. Thank you. Thank you, Geshe.
This is the place. The Ananda got the punishment. He offered the water for Buddha. This is behind. This is Kushinawa.
Yes.
This is the Kushinawa. Okay.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.